Sex and Sorcery, the Dreamweaver's Lament. Friends, before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell so you never miss a new audiobook, and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you in advance. There is a secret language spoken only in the space between waking and dreams. I have spent my life trying to translate it, to capture the ghost scent of forgotten memories and the silver-threaded promises we make to ourselves in the dark. My most forbidden stories are not of flesh and blood, but of these ethereal territories, tales of lovers who meet in shared dreams, of regrets that take solid form in the twilight realms of the mind. The Guild of Scribes would burn my work if they knew. They believe dreams are chaotic, unproductive magic. But I know better. Dreams are the soul's true currency. Tonight, as the twin moons of Eldoria, practical Liana and mysterious Mora, chased each other across the sky, the city felt different. The usual cacophony of spell chants and merchant calls was muted, replaced by a strange, heavy silence. People moved through the streets with a sleepwalker's grace, their eyes distant, their movements sluggish. A palpable weariness hung in the air, a collective sigh that had nothing to do with the late hour. It was a sickness of the spirit, and I felt it seeping under my skin as I made my way to the Moon and Ember. Our tavern, our sanctuary, felt like the only waking place left in a city falling asleep. Mira was already there, which was becoming an unsettling pattern. She wasn't reviewing scrolls, but staring blankly at the wall, her fingers tracing the rim of an untouched glass of wine. Her sharp green eyes were clouded. "You're early," I said, sliding into our alcove. The fire in the hearth seemed to burn lower than usual. She blinked slowly, as if pulling herself from deep water. The courthouse was quiet, unnaturally so. Judge Theron fell asleep during a property dispute. The plaintiff and defendant started holding hands and weeping about lost opportunities. I left when the bailiff began humming a lullaby. She finally looked at me, and I saw genuine fear in her gaze. "Something is wrong, Serena. The law requires a functioning mind. This is anarchy of the soul." Before I could respond, Kala arrived. She moved with less of her usual fluid grace, her steps slightly heavy. The scents that followed her, sandalwood and starfall blossom, were muted. "Darlings," she said, her voice lacking its typical melodic lilt. She sank into her seat, not even reaching for the wine. The emotional atmosphere is thick, syrupy. It's like trying to breathe honey. My clients today, one wanted a potion for ambition, but fell asleep describing his childhood treehouse. Another sought a love filter and spent an hour weeping about her grandmother's soup. She produced a vial, but her hand trembled. "This is for clarity, but I'm not sure it will penetrate this fog." The final piece of our quartet arrived not with a storm's energy, but with the weary tread of someone carrying a great weight. Bianna's shoulders were slumped, the usual crackle of power around her dampened. "The commander sent me home," she said, her voice flat. "Said I was disturbing the peace. I wasn't doing anything. Just standing there. But the storm inside me, it's quiet. Too quiet. It feels like it's dreaming." She looked genuinely frightened. "If I can't feel the storm, who am I?" This was more than a bad day. This was an assault. Our sanctuary had been breached by an invisible enemy. It was then that the door to the Moon and Ember opened, and the fog in the room seemed to part for him. He was not a warrior or a prince. He was slender, dressed in robes of deep indigo embroidered with silver threads that shimmered like captured starlight. His hair was black as a raven's wing, his skin pale, and his eyes were the color of violets at twilight, and they held a depth of sorrow that made my breath catch. He carried a small, silver lute, and in his other hand, a crystal orb filled with swirling, opalescent mist. He moved to the center of the tavern and, without a word, began to play. The music was not sound, it was a physical presence. It wrapped around the sleeping patrons, and for a moment, their faces cleared. They smiled, truly smiled, their eyes losing their haunted look. He was weaving a counterspell, a melody of wakefulness. When the last note faded, the fog slowly began to creep back. He turned, and his violet eyes found our table. He saw us, truly saw us, as islands of awareness in a sea of slumber. He approached, his movements graceful and silent. "You are still awake," he said, his voice a soft, melodic baritone that felt like a caress. "You resist the lament." Mira, ever the skeptic, found her voice first. "What lament? And who are you to manipulate the minds of citizens without a license?" A faint, sad smile touched his lips. "I am Elian, a Dreamweaver, and I am not manipulating them. I am fighting the one who is." His gaze swept over us, lingering on each face. "You four, your connection is an anchor. Your magic is too rooted in your core selves to be easily undone. The heart, the mind, the alchemy, the storm. You're exactly what I need." Bianna stood, her hand on her sword. "Need for what?" Elian's eyes met mine, and I felt a pull, a recognition deep in my dream self. "The lament is a spell, cast by my brother Morven. He believes reality is a prison. He seeks to unravel it, to merge the waking world with the dreamlands into one endless, sleeping haze. He siphons the energy of dreams, the hopes, the fears, the loves, to fuel his working." He held up the crystal orb. The opalescent mist inside swirled, and within it, I saw fleeting images, a city of crystalline spires reflected in still water, forests of silver trees, and at its center, a throne of woven shadows where a figure that mirrored Elian sat, his hands conducting the symphony of sleep engulfing Eldoria. "The dream realm," Elian whispered. "He has already claimed it. Eldoria is his gateway to the rest of the world. He has chosen this city because its magical energy is so strong, its dreams so vivid. He is feasting on them. And what does this have to do with us?" Kala asked, her scientific curiosity piqued despite the danger. "His spell targets the subconscious," Elian explained. "It cannot be fought with swords or fire. It must be fought on its own terrain. I can open the way, but I cannot face him alone. I need warriors of the waking world to stand with me in the dream. I need your waking selves to anchor his victims, to remind them of reality, while I confront my brother." He looked at me, and his gaze was an invitation to the most dangerous story I would ever write. "Serena, your stories understand the heart of dreams. Mira, your logic can impose order on chaos. Kala, your potions can affect the soul directly. Bianna, your storm is pure, waking life." He paused, his expression grim. "But know this, in the dream realm, your deepest fears and secrets can take form. Your inner demons will be waiting. If you are pulled into Morven's lament, you may never wake up." He offered his hand, not to shake, but to hold. The fate of the waking world hangs in the balance. Will you dream with me? The silence that followed Elian's question was not one of hesitation, but of profound understanding. We were not being asked to storm a castle or fight a physical army. We were being asked to dive into the very source of the malaise gripping our city, to fight a war where the weapons were memories and the battlefield was the mind. It was the most terrifying proposition I had ever heard, and the most compelling. Mira was the first to speak, her legal mind grappling with the metaphysical logistics. Jurisdiction. If we enter this dream realm, whose laws apply? The guilds? Or the laws of narrative cohesion? Ilian's violet eyes held a glimmer of sad amusement. There, Mistress Doran, the only law is the strength of one's will. Your logic will be both your sword and your shield. Diana's jaw was set. You said our inner demons would be there. My demon is my own power. What happens if it runs wild in a world made of thought? Then it will be a storm of thought, Elian replied, his voice gentle. And perhaps, in a place where nothing is truly solid, you can finally learn that it cannot truly destroy what you love. Only your fear of it can. Kala, ever the pragmatist, was already rummaging in her silk pouches. The biochemistry of dreams, the neuroalchemical transference, this is unprecedented. She pulled out several vials filled with shimmering liquids. I have distillations of lucidity, of memory, of emotional resilience. They may function as stabilizers. All eyes turned to me. I was the chronicler of such intangibles. I met Elian's gaze. How do we get there? His sad smile returned. He raised his silver lute and played a single, pure note that seemed to vibrate not in the air, but in the substance of reality itself. The world around us, the worn wooden table, the guttering candles, the sleeping forms of the other patrons began to waver, like a reflection in a pond disturbed by a stone. Take my hand, Elian said, his voice now echoing from everywhere and nowhere. And do not let go. The path between worlds is fragile. I reached out, my fingers closing around his. His skin was cool, but a current of immense power thrummed just beneath the surface. Mira, Kala, and Biana linked hands with us, forming a circle. The tavern dissolved into a whirl of color and sound, a dizzying vortex of half-formed thoughts and forgotten sensations. We were falling, but not downward, sideways, through layers of perception. The world solidified, and we stood in the dream realm. It was Eldoria, but rendered in the soft, illogical palette of a dream. The sky was a perpetual twilight of deep purples and bruised oranges. The guild spires twisted and curved in impossible architectures, their peaks sometimes brushing the ground. The whispering sea in the distance was a sheet of solid, silent silver. The air hummed with a low, melancholic thrum, the sound of the lament itself. It was beautiful, and it was utterly wrong. Stay close, Elian whispered, his form now seeming more substantial here, his indigo robes glowing with an internal light. The lament will try to pull you into private dreams. Your connection to each other is your tether to the shared reality. We moved through the dream streets. We saw phantoms of the city's inhabitants, trapped in looping, bittersweet scenes. A merchant endlessly counting coins that turned to sand in his hands. A young couple forever on the verge of a first kiss that never came. Their dreams were not of joy, but of quiet, desperate yearning, the energy of which was being siphoned away, flowing invisible silver streams toward the center of the city, where a palace of black crystal and twisted moonlight stood. Morven's citadel, Ilian said, his voice tight. As we moved closer, the lament tested us. For Mira, the world shifted into a stark courtroom. There, in the witness stand, stood the ghost of her first love, Kale, not as the traitor she'd believed him to be, but as the hero he truly was. He held out a hand to her. "You could stay here," his dream echo whispered. "We could have the life we were meant to. No more lonely nights. No more arguments with fools. Just us. Forever." Mira froze, her face a mask of anguish. The temptation was a physical force. But then her jaw tightened. "A verdict based on false evidence is no verdict at all," she said, her voice shaking but clear. "And a dream of you is a poor substitute for the truth." She turned her back on the phantom, and the courtroom shattered like glass. For Kala, the world became her laboratory, but it was perfect. Every experiment succeeded. Every formula revealed the ultimate secrets of the universe. A phantom version of herself, radiant with knowledge, beckoned her. "Stay. You will know everything. You will never fail again." Kala looked at the perfect, shimmering elixirs, then at her own imperfect hands. "A result without the struggle is meaningless," she declared. "The beauty is in the quest, not the quarry." She swept a vial from the table, and the perfect lab dissolved into mist. For Byanna, the test was a peaceful, sun-drenched field. There was no storm, no lightning, no destructive power. A version of herself, calm and serene, offered her a simple wildflower. "You can be free of the curse here. You can be gentle. You can be safe." Tears streamed down Byanna's face. The longing was so profound it was a physical ache. But then she looked at us, her friends, her anchors in the chaotic, real world. "The storm is not my curse," she said, her voice thick. "It is my strength, and I choose to wield it." She crushed the phantom flower in her fist, and the idyllic field vanished. My own test came not as a person, but as a feeling. A profound, welcoming silence. The promise that I would never have to struggle for words again, that every story would write itself perfectly, without the pain of creation. It was the siren song of every writer's deepest insecurity. I felt Elian's hand tighten around mine. The simple, physical contact was a shock of reality. I thought of my friends, of their messy, real, unwritten lives. "No," I whispered to the silence. "The struggle is the story." The silence broke. We stood before the black crystal citadel. The silver streams of dream energy poured into its pinnacle. The great doors, shaped like closed eyes, began to open. "He knows we are here," Ilian said. He turned to us, his violet eyes filled with a desperate hope. "Remember who you are. Your waking selves are the weapon he cannot comprehend." As we crossed the threshold into the heart of the lament, a figure descended from a throne of woven shadows. He looked like Ilian, but where Ilian's sorrow was gentle, his was a cold, sharp thing. His eyes were voids of deepest black. "Brother," Morven said, his voice the sound of 1,000 forgotten lullabies. "You bring distractions to our symphony." "It is not a symphony, Morven," Ilian replied, his voice ringing through the hall. "It is a dirge. And it ends now." Morven smiled, a chilling expression. "Let us see if their waking hearts can survive the dark." He raised his hands, and from the shadows of the citadel, our greatest fears began to take solid, terrifying form. The shadows in Morven's citadel did not simply move, they conceived. From the swirling darkness, our deepest fears bloomed into horrifying life, sculpted from nightmare stuff and given purpose by the Dreamweaver's power. Before Mira, the phantom of Kale did not return. Instead, a towering, featureless judge materialized, its robe a cascade of legal scrolls that whispered of her every failure, every loophole she'd ever missed. It held a gavel that was her own heart, frozen in black ice. The law is flawed, it intoned with Myra's own voice. And so are you. For Kala, her laboratory reappeared, but now it was a prison of glass. Each vial contained a trapped, screaming emotion, the love she'd failed to capture, the joy that had soured in her attempts to distill it. Her own phantom stood over the bubbling beakers, its face a mask of cold disappointment. You break everything you touch into components, it hissed. You will never understand the whole. Biana's storm did not rage before her, it was caged. A sphere of crackling, furious lightning was trapped in a prison of unbreakable crystal, its energy turning in on itself, devouring itself in a silent, screaming vortex. A phantom of her commander pointed at it. See? This is all you are. A contained threat. A weapon that knows it is a weapon. And for me, my greatest fear did not wear a face. It was a blank, endless parchment that stretched into infinity. My quill was in my hand, but it was dry. No words came. No stories. Only the terrifying, absolute silence of a voice that had been extinguished. The void of a tale that would never be told. The lament intensified, a psychic weight seeking to crush our resolve, to make us accept these nightmare truths as our own. We have to fight them. Biana yelled, her hands sparking, but the storm within her felt distant, muffled by the dream prison before her. We cannot fight them with the power they represent, Elian called out, his own form flickering as he faced his brother. That is what he wants. You must fight them with their opposites. His words were a key turning in a lock. Mira, trembling, did not try to argue with the judge. Instead, she turned her back on it and looked at us. The law is flawed, she declared, her voice gaining strength. But it strives for justice. And I strive with it. She poured her will not into defeating the phantom, but into reinforcing our circle. A golden thread of pure, logical intent shot from her, weaving around us a barrier against the chaos. The judge's gavel cracked, but the ice did not shatter. It held. Kala, watching her trapped emotions writhe, did not try to free them. She closed her eyes and remembered the undistilled, messy joy of our laughter in the moon and ember, the fierce, unpotioned loyalty we shared. She poured that memory into the dream, a wave of pure, unalchemized feeling. The glass of her nightmare prison fogged, then began to sweat, the emotions inside quieting, soothed by a truth no vial could hold. Biana, facing her caged storm, did not try to break the crystal. She took a step toward it, her hand outstretched. You are not a curse, she whispered to the lightning. You are my power, and I am not your jailer. I am your guide. She did not command the storm, she invited it. The crystal prison did not break, but the lightning within stilled, then pressed gently against its confines not with rage, but with recognition. A single, hairline crack appeared. And I, staring into the void of the blank parchment, felt a terror so profound it was a physical coldness in my soul. But then I felt Elian's hand in mine, a constant, real pressure. I thought not of the stories I had written, but of the ones I had lived. The sound of Myra's sarcastic wit, the scent of Kala's perfumes, the feel of Biana's protective presence at my back. I raised my dry quill. I had no ink, but I had memory. I had truth. I began to write in the air, not with ink, but with light. I wrote the story of us, of 4 women who chose each other again and again. I wrote our arguments and our reconciliations, our fears and our triumphs. Each word was a spark against the infinite blankness. Each sentence was a defiance of the silence. The void recoiled. It could not consume a story that was still being written, a story rooted in the waking world. "You sought to consume dreams," brother, Elian said, his voice now filled with a power that was both gentle and immense. "But you forgot that the most powerful dreams are not of escape, but of connection. They are anchors, not chains." Elian raised his silver lute. But he did not play a note of battle. He played a melody of remembrance. A song of cool water on a hot day, of a mother's lullaby, of the solid comfort of home. It was the song of the waking world. The song wrapped around Morven. He did not scream or fight. The cold anger in his eyes fractured, and for a moment I saw not a monster, but a lonely, grieving man, a dreamweaver who had gotten lost in the territories he was meant to shepherd. The black crystal of his citadel began to clear, becoming transparent, then softly luminous. The silver streams of dream energy flowing into it reversed course, flowing back out into the dream realm, returning to their dreamers. The lament was breaking. The world around us softened, the twisted geometries of the dream city relaxing, the colors warming. The melancholic thrum faded, replaced by the gentle, distant sounds of pleasant dreams. Morven sank to his knees, his head bowed. The void left his eyes, leaving them the same violet as his brothers, filled with tears. I was so tired of the pain," he whispered. Elian went to him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "I know," he said softly. "So was I. But the answer is not to end the dream. It is to dream better ones." We awoke in the moon and ember, gasping as if breaking the surface of deep water. The heavy fog was gone. The patrons were stirring, blinking, looking around with clear, if confused, eyes. The city outside the window was coming back to life, the sounds of normalcy a beautiful, waking symphony. Elian was with us, solid and real. Morven was gone, but Elian assured us he was safe, resting in a healed corner of the dream realm, learning to weave dreams of hope instead of sorrow. In the days that followed, Eldoria felt renewed. The collective melancholy had lifted, replaced by a fragile, but genuine vitality. Mira used her experience to argue for the legal recognition of dream therapy. Kala began developing potions to encourage lucid, healing dreams. Biana found a new harmony with her storm, no longer fearing it as a separate, cursed entity, but embracing it as a fundamental, balanced part of herself. And Elian, he stayed. He took a small studio near my scriptorium. Our conversations were not always of grand, magical conflicts, but of the simple poetry of a sunset, the taste of fresh bread, the texture of real, waking life. He was learning to live in the world he had saved, and I was learning to love a man who understood the landscape of my soul as well as he understood his own. I sit at my desk now, the first hints of dawn painting the sky. The dream realm is at peace, and so, for the first time in a long time, is my city. I still write my stories, but now they are not just forbidden tales. They are testaments. For I have learned that the most powerful magic does not lie in the grand sorceries that reshape mountains, nor in the dark laments that seek to unravel reality. It lies in the quiet, stubborn choice to wake up, to feel the solid ground beneath your feet, to reach for a friend's hand in the dark, to love the messy, unpredictable, beautiful noise of the waking world with all its heartbreak and all its joy, and to understand that sometimes the most heroic thing we can do is simply to choose to be here, now, fully awake and dreaming with our eyes wide open. And so, the final notes of the Dreamweaver's Lament fade into a gentle awakening. We hope this journey into dreams and the power of friendship reminded you that even our deepest fears can be faced when we stand together. But the library of Velvet Valor holds countless more stories waiting to be dreamed into life. If this tale of nightmare and redemption, of a love that bridges worlds, captured your heart, then you've found your home for full-length, cinematic romantasy. Ready to discover where our next journey leads? Subscribe to Velvet Valor Romantasy Audiobook and never miss a new tale. Let us be your guide through enchanted worlds where love is the most powerful magic of all. Like this video if you believe in the power of dreams, friendship, and love that can heal even the most broken of hearts. Comment below and tell us, what would your greatest dream be in the dream realm? And what nightmare would you have to face? We read every comment and love hearing your stories. Your support is the magic that allows us to create these complete audiobooks. Thank you for listening, for sharing in these emotional journeys, and for keeping your heart open to stories that remind us of the power of connection. Until our next adventure begins. Yours in Stories and Sorcery, the Velvet Valor narrator.